Tonight's verse, I'm going to go through the first three verses of the 7th chapter, 7:1, 7:2, and 7:3. In my book, it starts on page 363, so I don't know if all these books are a little different.
303 in this one.
303? 7:1. Knowledge of the absolute, we've been talking about that. Getting to know God. That's really the purpose of any religious practice. We're trying to, getting to know this person, this supreme person. If we can get to know God, we can get to know everything. Everything worth knowing. Any real knowledge we'll know. It's just like the spiritual master is said to know everything. The guru knows everything. That does not mean that if the guru doesn't know how to take apart an iPhone and put it back together, that, aha, see. But what is the value of that knowledge? Spiritually, what's the value of it? See. So, the guru may not know how to overhaul a car or nuclear fission, you see. He may not know anything about the law, but he hires attorneys for that. You see? But as far as knowledge of the absolute, the guru knows what his guru knows. Who knows what his guru knows? Who knows what his guru knows, all the way back to Krishna. So the knowledge is passed down. The disciplic succession is kind of like, let's say, a series of extension cords. You know, if you're in a very big hall and you need electricity to this spot, but the electric supply is way on the other end of the room, if you plug an extension cord into that one, and then another one into that one, and another one into that one, after some time you'll reach where you are. So the same electricity comes from the source, you see. So the position of the disciplic succession is to channel the energy and knowledge of Krishna through the disciplic succession. So as long as the guru is fully attached to his guru, who's fully attached to his guru, you see, all the way back to Krishna, this process comes through perfectly, you see. If somebody in the midst, let's say these extension cords, if someone in the midst decides, well, I'm going to change this current, you know, from 110 to 220, well, then you have a short out or something will burn out. As long as everything is passing the knowledge as learned, then everything is perfect. It's just like with the followers of Lord Jesus Christ. Those who followed, who heard his teachings and passed them on as is without adding anything. It's just like a recipe, you know. You get a recipe, and if you add to it, you change the recipe. But if you, just like some traditional Indian cooking, if you change it, it doesn't come out the way it really should be. It may still be attractive in some way or another, but it's not original. So that's the purpose of this. Krishna wants this knowledge to come to you. That's his desire. Now we already have it, but it's covered over. Our consciousness is covered over. There's no problem with our having a body just because we have a body. That's not the big problem we have. The big problem is our consciousness is clouded, you see. So we can continue to be in this material body, which has many disadvantages. But if we uncloud our spiritual consciousness, then this body becomes a great asset to ourselves and to everyone that we come in contact with, you see. So this process of Krishna consciousness is to uncloud our consciousness. It's like if you went into an attic, like you just bought your home, you went into the attic and you found a mirror, an ancient mirror, it's been there for who knows how long. At first, you may not even know what it is because it's all covered with dust. And then you clean it away a little bit, and you realize it's a mirror. You can kind of see your reflection. But if you cleanse it away 100%, then it really will perform like a mirror as it's supposed to. So our consciousness is covered over with contaminated consciousness. We are conscious, but it's clouded consciousness. We keep thinking, I am this and I am that. This is reality and that's reality, and we're so wrong. So the purpose of the devotee of Krishna is to help you uncloud your mirror, cleanse the mirror of your mind, to cleanse your consciousness, to give you Krishna consciousness, to make you conscious of Krishna. To do that, we need knowledge of Krishna. And Krishna spoke a whole chapter, which he titled The Knowledge of the Absolute. So, let's start out with text 1. This is Krishna talking. Sri Bhagavan Uvacha. He didn't say that. That means the Lord, the personality of God, had said. And this is Krishna. Mayashtakta manaha parta yogam yunjam asrayaha asamsayam samagramam yakta yagyasita tridu. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, now hear, O son of Krishna, how by practicing yoga in full consciousness of me, with mind attached to me, you can know me in full, free from doubt. So Krishna starts the chapter off by saying, you can know me in full. Now he doesn't say, get a glimpse of me or get an idea. So Krishna wants you to know him in full. You see, this is very flattering when you think about it. If we start to understand the personality of Krishna as the all-loving, the supreme lover, he's offering knowledge. I want you to get to know me. You see, he already knows us. His consciousness never got clouded over. So the relationship that we have and have had for eternity, it's still running. The meter is still running on his end. He never got clouded over. Yes?
Yeah, in 1995, in broad daylight, an avatar appeared to me, and the pure love that came out of his heart to my heart, and also came out of his heart to an anonymous little boy, was a golden yellow color. And time stopped my perception when he appeared, and I never applied the brakes to my vehicle or turned off the engine or anything. And then that seemed to go on for quite a while, a triangle of golden yellow pure love. And then the beams, my beam returned to my heart and his beams returned to his heart. And then he ascended back up, and I watched him leave, and right as he left, as soon as he disappeared, I heard a sound inside my head. It sounded just like this. And then everything started moving again. My van began moving. The kids, where he descended down to, they started moving, and time started moving again.
Well, my immediate, as they say, knee-jerk reaction is, I have to inquire, what did you get from that?
He showed me that the most powerful and greatest force, and the only force in the universe, is the highest, purest, unconditional love. And all of creation is based on that. And I inquired in 2010 how he came up, I say he, but not really he, but how the idea of male and female came up. And he told me all about that too.
Well, the idea, if we want to call it an idea, the existence of male and female, we can see the original male and female. Krishna, you see Radha and Krishna there, and they are the same, and yet they are different. The same soul.
Yeah, he told me
two
that.
different bodies. But although it's said that Krishna doesn't understand Radharani, that explains a lot, doesn't it? You know, Krishna doesn't understand her. She has such love for him that he's amazed. See, so this concept of male-female, Krishna wanted this association, and not only that, he wants, if I have a mate, I want others to have a mate. I won't be the only one. You see, so. Yeah, the reason why I asked that question is because I always judge the value, because I'm fixed on my goal. I know what I want, and I want pure love of Godhead. I want Krishna. You see, and so I always see whether something has anything for me. There may be many amazing situations that could happen in our lifetime. That we may witness. I mean, it's just like you may see David Copperfield make a 747 disappear. That's amazing! Even if he really did it. That's amazing. But let's just say he actually did it. Not just the illusion, but he did it. I'd say, wow, David, that is really cool. Doesn't help me on my goal. And anyway, off I go. Thank you, that was entertaining. You know, so the importance of that might have been to make me feel that there are great things. There are many great things to discover. However, let me refix on that target of mine, Krishna. Wait a minute, Krishna, was that you? Did you send David Copperfield to make a 747 disappear before my very eyes to try to see if he would detract me from my destiny or my desire to achieve you? I think it was you. Well, nice try. Didn't work. Try again. No, don't try again. Look what I'm talking to here, you know. You see what I mean? So I'm sure that was a wonderful experience. So the Krishna's desire is for us to know him, to wake up, Jeev Jago. Yes.
The other night you were mentioning something about 2 boats and a helicopter.
Yeah.
Would that have any revelation for what he's kind of talking about? Like, is that Krishna, is that you? Or, you know how, we say, oh, we're waiting for God to help us. And then, he sends someone.
Could be.
Yeah.
It
He
could
sends
be.
somebody to, maybe show us the way or show us something that maybe we need to know at that point. And it could be God, but through another person.
Yeah. When God appears, and he can come anytime. As a matter of fact, why would he not? Just kind of like passing through. He might. However, when Krishna comes, it's a big thing. I mean, we could say that maybe President Obama might decide that I want to go to a certain mall, but I just want to go by myself in my Secret Service. So I'm going to put on a disguise, and nobody's going to know. I'm just going to sneak over there, because if I told the Secret Service, they'd tag along, and I don't want that. I just want to go over there, disguised, and just go shopping. I haven't done that in almost 6 years. So, well, that's just not likely. It's really not. If President Obama went to a mall, the Secret Service would go there first. And they would check out the different angles, and they would think, all right, you want to go down this hallway and do this hallway. I want to have people here and people here. So just for the President of the United States, for the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, to come, his whole entourage comes with him. Some of them descend centuries before he comes. When Lord Chaitanya came, demigods took their birth. Vishnu took his birth as Sri Advaita, you see. Radharani came as Sri Gadadhar. I mean, you know, Lord Balaram came as Lord Nityananda. I mean, you know, this is huge. So probably what we have in a situation like this is someone like a Narad Muni. Krishna sends Narad Muni. Go take care of this. Now, so wonderful and so unexplainable. To us, it seems like God. You know, we can be in our level of consciousness. It's possible for us to be like a monkey with a mirror, absolutely amazed. You know, there's a monkey here. So, yeah, we can think so many things. As a matter of fact, many people do. I always say, there's, you know, if you want to see God, go to India. He's on every street corner. Isn't it? They're telling you, I am God, yes, I am a supreme person, I don't give nothing. Please be giving you money. No, you know, they do that. There's even some that can make things appear, they can do tricks. You know, they have some mystic potency, you see. But we're not a monkey when we see the mirror. You know, when we want to know, all right, if you're God, then you're complete in all 6 opulences. Or else, otherwise you're not God. Sri Bhagavan Vacha, Sri Bhagavan. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, Bhagavan. Bhagavan means one who is complete in all 6 opulences. Beauty, knowledge, fame, wealth, renunciation, strength. So when you're complete, when you have all of those, then you could be God. More than likely you are. And you're like somebody like Elvis Presley. He has beauty, he has fame, he has wealth. And I think I'm running out of it. He's not that strong.
No
He
renunciation.
was a drug addict, you know. He has
Absolutely.
no renunciation. He's a mode of ignorance because he's doing intoxication. So, fail. I mean, we can do this all day long. You know, Bill Gates, he's famous, he has wealth. You know,
Beauty debatable.
He never passed the test.
you know. Okay, God number 3, candidate number 3, come on. You see, so this is part of Krishna's mission. I want you to know me, and so therefore I want you to know who I'm not. I want you to know who's not me. So those who are sincerely practicing bhakti yoga, they learn who's not God. You see. So, yes.
Question. So, is that the yoga that he's talking about in verse Bhakti Yoga, or is he talking about Jnana Yoga? And
Bhakti Yoga. Yoga is like a ladder. And if you look at it's called the Eightfold Yoga System. It starts with Yam. It's pronounced Yama in America, but it's in Sanskrit it's Yam. Yam means basically straighten up your life, become a good person. Niyam, become a better person and start to look out for your fellow human being. You know. Then we get into sitting and breathing, and it works its way up so that you can get to the point that now that you have this accomplished, you can become my loving devotee and perform bhakti yoga, which is also known as buddhi yoga, the highest intelligence. You see. Now there are people who get to know little bits and pieces. It's just like you have a physician in the room. Somebody who knows a little bit about medicine, right? But what if there's somebody who knows a little bit of this and a little bit of that? And they can talk like they know all about medicine. They can use terms and maybe some diagnosis, things that they know, but they're not a doctor. You see, they can sure sound like it. So the world is full of people that have come since Srila Prabhupada came, that have come to this Western world, and they're talking things, you know, about, well, yoga's for this and yoga's for that. If we trace it back thousands of years, 5,000 years ago, when Krishna spoke the yoga system, not yam, niyam, asana, so on, like that, and said it's like this, and you step it up. He even describes Ashtanga yoga. He describes it. And then after he describes it, Arjuna says, I don't want to do that. That's too hard. And Krishna says, well, if you don't want to do it, I mean, it's tough, Ashtanga yoga. I hear people say, well, I practice Ashtanga yoga. You know, and I feel like saying, what did you just say? Well, what are you doing here? Why aren't you on a mountain someplace in a very secluded area, sitting on a deerskin, which is on coos grass? You know, and I mean, my gosh, those guys, you can see them in India. You can see these guys sometimes for the Kumbh Mela. They'll come out of the mountains and out of their caves where they live. Their fingernails are real long. Their hair is all matted, and they've just been sitting there for months, years, for practicing Ashtanga yoga. You don't do it on the weekend or 10 or 15 minutes a day. You know, it's a tough process, and it takes a lifetime, you know. And you need to have learned it at a young age from somebody who's expert, that had practiced it all their life. You know, so it becomes a little distorted, you see. Now, I'm not saying that practicing yoga isn't great for you. It is. It's fabulous for your health. We want to clear up health issues so that we can go full speed ahead on our bhakti yoga. Although that's not even necessary, really. You know, in poor health, we can go full speed ahead in bhakti yoga. You see. However, it sure helps to have some health. You see. So yoga, as we're practicing it now, really can help a great deal. But we're not really practicing the way it was originally meant to be practiced.
If we're just doing the asana piece, but if
Asana
we're doing
piece,
the
yeah.
yamas and niyamas and
Yeah. If we get it together, step by step, perfecting each one, it'll lead you to bhakti yoga. Buddhi yoga, it's also called.
And is bhakti yoga, I learned, possibly incorrectly, that Raja Yoga combined all of the yoga paths. Bhakti, karma, jhana.
Yeah, yeah.
Is bhakti better than the other kind?
Well, bhakti is the destiny. It's the target. You see, Raj Yoga. I wouldn't say that at all. It actually, I mean, I don't want to disagree with that statement, but I do know that bhakti yoga. In other words, if I'm trying to think of a good analogy. If I need a drink of water and somebody gives me a great reservoir of water, then I've got my drink of water. You see what I mean? Plus a whole lot more. So bhakti yoga includes whatever you could probably want. You see, bhakti yoga, as far as yoga training, it's really. It's like there's practice, and then you're an attorney, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And I teach yoga.
Okay.
Yoga.
So you understand. As an attorney, there was a time when you were a student and you were learning, and as you go, you get pretty good at it. Not qualified yet. You haven't what they call passed the bar. You know. You haven't graduated and passed the bar, but you're stepping it up, you see. So you're a law student. All right, when you pass the bar, you're no longer a law student, although you're going to continue to learn. But now you have achieved the goal. Now I'm an attorney. Well, you're in a different class, see. So you've achieved that goal. So the goal is bhakti yoga, which basically is to perform loving devotional service to Krishna. Now, teaching Hatha Yoga or these other yogas is actually very wonderful. I mean, it's a wonderful thing that's happened in the Western world. But some people that I have run across are teaching it as the highest. Most of them aren't. Most of the yoga salons that I speak in, they don't sit there and tell you that if you come here every Thursday night, or even every night of the week, that you're going to see God. You know, they don't make that claim. They don't even, most of the ones that I know don't make any spiritual claims whatsoever. You know, I'm not saying that I'll make you, if you give me so much a week or whatever, that I will, in exchange, I will give you God. See, you will have, as you proceed, you will have some spiritual advancement, you see, because you're in a much more purified environment than if you were in a gymnasium, you know. Those people are also working on their health, but they're not there for any spiritual whatever. But there is a spiritual potency attached to the asana and the breathing and the sitting. I can't remember all the terms right now. I have senior moments once in a while. Actually, sometimes I don't have a senior moment. That's the one. Please let me know if I'm not having a senior moment, if you will. But you see what I mean? So I don't want people to get confused when I say it's not presented in the Western world the way it was originally. You know,
I agree.
you know. However, it's hard for us to estimate the service that yoga is doing for the Western world right now. You know, people are learning things that they would have never. We needed this. The Western world needed this thousands of years ago. Just think if they'd had yoga to get through the Dark Ages. You know, if the early settlers had yoga, I mean, it would have always been a tremendous help, you see. So now that we have, what I tell people is don't stop there. Ride that horse all the way back to Krishna. Take it, glean all of it from it that you can, and let it deliver you back home, back to Krishna, which it will do if you step it up. And but then Krishna is so kind that he says that here's my yoga ladder. But if you want to, you can start out at the top.
And one more yoga question,
Sure.
and then I'll let it go. And thank you. It's important to me, and especially because I teach, I want to
It's a
give
great
the best
service.
information.
It's a great service that you're doing.
I read in the yoga booklet that you can get here that it would be impossible to business through the regular yoga practice, which I assume they meant the eighth path, the yoga.
Ashtanga.
Thank you, the Ashtanga path. Seen the moment too.
Yeah.
And that chanting was the only way. And when I read that, I'm a terrible chanter. I thought, darn it, there's got to be another way. Can't I make the Ashtanga yoga practice my bhakti practice and find a loophole in that chanting?
You can use Ashtanga yoga to develop your consciousness. Typically people practice Ashtanga yoga not to go to Krishna. They want Krishna's energy. They want the kingdom of God. They're not looking for the owner of the kingdom to be at home, though. You know, it's like if I want to go to Bob's house, but I don't want to deal with Bob. I wish Bob and Tim were out of town, and
I'm really a difficult personality.
well, you're a nice guy, I'm sure, but I'm not looking for, you know, I just want your digs. So you and Tim are out of town, you've got the dogs, we're going to be all by myself and just enjoy your energy, you see.
Got it.
So Ashtanga yoga is that typically, when one practices Shtanga, it's to get to what we call the Brahm Jyoti. The Brahm Jyoti is the light. You know, it's the beginning of the spiritual world. And you actually transcend out of this material world, and you can go for as long as you want to stay merged into the light. Of course, you don't give up your individuality. You're merged into the impersonal Brahman, you see. So, in other words, I'm merged in Krishna's energy. But I don't have to look him in the face. I don't have to deal with him. I don't have to take his mouth. In other words, he doesn't give me any instructions. Nobody gives me any instructions. You see, I'm a free spirit and I'm there. I have no form. Nobody has any form. All the other innumerable living entities that are there, they have no form either. I don't have to listen to anybody. But wait a minute, there's no one to listen to me. Hey, wait a minute, how do I interface with anybody? Hey, what about love? How do I exchange love? Hey, what about, oh, wait a minute, this isn't exactly what I wanted. Darn it, I didn't figure out what I wanted before I came here.
I got it.
You see what I mean?
Yeah.
But you can stay what could be measured as an eternity if you want to, because you do have peace. You're in a nirvanic stage. You're extremely peaceful. And it's a relief from being in this material world, encased in a body, and having to deal with all the garbage that we have to deal with. But after some time, and that could be up to you, you may desire, I want love in my life. And some people tell me, oh, well, it's there. Well, how? I have no senses, I have no form. Nobody else does. You know. I have no personality. Nobody else around me does. I don't even know if they're there. I just know they should be. I guess they're there. You see what I mean?
Yeah, I do.
So for a long time, I'm out of that. I'm in nirvana. I have shanti. Finally, I made it out of that birth, death, disease, old age, and here I am in nirvana. So after I get over that, finally I escape the rat race. I may want. Now I want love in my life. You know, I want to have exchanges. You see, I want to have friends. And I want eternal friends. So we turn around and we come back to where we came from. But we come into this world somebody who has once left it. You see what I mean? So in other words, you never leave, Krishna says, you never lose whatever spiritual advancement you make. So one returns to this world already advanced to that stage. You may not remember. There are people walking around who have been liberated and returned. They may not know. I'm sure they don't know. Which is, you know, you meet some people and they're highly spiritually elevated from the get-go. They don't have all the answers, but they have a lot better questions than a lot of people do. And they're on a different quest. Well, they've gone this way, and now here they are back, and they're looking for more. Their advancement oftentimes could be much, much greater, you see, much, much quicker. So, anyway, does that answer your question? Sometimes I
And
ramble
then
on
some.
too
Thank
much.
you.
Okay, yeah. If I ever ramble on too much, just kind of give me a little.
Objection.
I object.
No.
Overruled.
That was awesome. Thank you.
Yeah.
My question is around, it seems to be using consciousness and mind interchangeably. Are they the same? Different? And if they're different, how are they?
Consciousness is the evidence of the existence of the soul. Mind is part of the body. Okay, it's one of the subtle elements of the body. The body, everything in this cosmic manifestation is made of 5 elements: earth, water, fire, air, and ether. Now those are the gross elements, meaning that they can be perceived by the senses. And then there are 3 subtle elements on top of that. Now you notice in that order, earth, water, fire, air, ether. Each one of those can be perceived by the senses less. So they're stepping down. Okay? Now, the 3 subtle elements are mind, intelligence, and false ego. So this mind is it's part of your subtle body. The subtle body will accompany you birth after birth. Your mind, intelligence, and false ego. You have to give up that earth, water, fire, air, ether. That's going to be taken away. It's going to go back to the elements. But mind, intelligence, and false ego accompany the soul to the next body. You see, you notice, you take 2 German shepherds from the same mother and father, and you get 2 different personalities, don't you? I mean, I've noticed that about dogs, cats. Yeah.
Can I interject? And like being an identical twin, having a sister, and we are night and day.
But
Completely, our personalities are night and day.
But the gross elements that make up the body are identical. But yet, the mind, intelligence, and false ego can be diametrical. Yeah.
So we have different souls.
Yeah.
Thank God.
So the mind is used by the consciousness, which is the soul.
Consciousness and soul, are you saying?
Consciousness is a symptom of the soul. The soul is conscious. The soul has consciousness. It's part of, standard equipment. It comes with it. The soul is never unconscious. So, but the mind, basically the mind is the 6th sense. It's there to help. It's kind of like the driver. It should be. It's just like if you're driving along and you see let's say it's hot in Arizona and you see an advertisement on a billboard for a nice cold beer. Well, the tongue might think, I want a beer, it's nice and cold, it looks good. The guy holding it looks so handsome and I want to be like him. But the mind says, wait a minute, we don't drink and I don't want it. So, but many people think, oh, I want a beer. You see, your tongue may want something, or one of your senses may want something. If the mind is working for you, if it's your friend, then it says it'll accept that desire of the sense, whichever sense it might be, and make an intelligent decision. Yes, you can have it. No, you can't. You can't have it now, but you can have it later. You can't have as much as you want. You can have less. Whatever, you see. But that generally comes when somebody's in a little more advanced. For the devotee, he knows, I'm not my body, so therefore I'm not my mind. I'm not my tongue. My tongue may want something, but I'm the driver of this ship. You see, Krishna expects me to take the helm and make decisions based on me being his servant. So, you see what I mean? So mind, intelligence, and false ego go with us. As we chant Hare Krishna, this is where chanting is. One of the reasons why chanting is extremely important. As we chant the Maha Mantra, this mantra meditation is the most potent. Meditation is only as potent as the object of our meditation. Spiritually, physically, meditation can relieve stress. It can do a multitude of things. But as far as a spiritual advancement, it depends on the object of your meditation. So if I'm meditating on a flower, I get the potency of a flower. Now that might be very calming and peaceful. Does it take me closer to Krishna? Well, And it's a little more difficult in this age to meditate in trance. You see. In this age, we need to engage more senses into our meditation. So therefore, we vibrate the mantra, this sound vibration. We can meditate on sound vibration. Therefore, we're fixing our vibration and the hearing of the vibration. Much easier to focus on. Now, there was a guy that I heard him speaking. He didn't know I was listening. I was in another room. He didn't know I was there. Or else I'm sure he would have said it. He was somebody else. Anyway, I'm not going to mention the name of the group. But they were saying that just chant. Somebody asked, what about chanting Hare Krishna? Oh, that's wonderful. It's great. But just chant. Chant anything. Why, you can chant Harley Davidson, Harley, and still get to wherever you need to go. And I thought, did I hear that? I just heard that guy say that. And I thought, I'm not going in there. I'm getting out of here. You see. So, what's the most potent sound vibration? The name of God. Hallowed be thy name. The name of God. Now, the names of God that have been given us from that Maha Mantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare. We're praying this Hare, we're praying to Hara, Radharani. We're trying to get at Krishna through her, which is really the only way you're going to get to him. You see, you don't get to Krishna without going through the mercy of Srimati Radharani. So Hara, I'm praying to you, my dear old goddess of love for Krishna. I'm begging you, please give me loving devotional service to Krishna. You see. So we're mentioning Krishna's name, and we're trying to flatter Radharani into letting us into that club of hers that serves Krishna. So it's very perfect. We meditate on those sound vibrations, and we're actually experiencing God's presence. Prabhupada says when you chant Hare Krishna, Krishna is dancing on your tongue. Now, we can also chant other bona fide names of God. Yahweh. I'm not saying Yahweh is. I don't know. That's above my pay grade to know all the bona fide names of God. He's unlimited. So he has unlimited names. So there are many. You can chant Nrsimha, Narayan. You can chant and chant. There are many, many others that are bona fide names, and they have that potency to give you that. As long as you're vibrating the sound and hearing, you'll be elevated to the platform of devotional service. You see, devotional service means, my dear Lord, I love you, and I want you to realize my love for you. I want to uncover this lost concept that I have of being your loving servant. And I'm begging, please give me some service. Let me serve you in some way. See? Because when we love somebody, we want to do something for them. Now, Krishna doesn't need it. He doesn't need our service. He wants our love. He needs our love. That's part of our relationship. He wants our love. He has a whole crew of unlimited Lakshmis and gopis that are serving him fantastically. You see, sometimes people, I think, must wonder. We talk about serving God, going back home to Godhead, becoming a servant, of Krishna. Some people might wonder, well, what is this back to Godhead? This Goloka Vrindavan you're talking about, where they have really superb border control. So there's no illegal immigrants there to do the cutting of the grass and the cleaning of the houses and things. So in other words, you're trying to get me to go there and be a minimum wager, huh? Why are you pushing this service thing? Why can't I go there and be served? I want to be one of the served. So that's our flaw in this material world, because our constitutional position is a servant. We serve. We get great pleasure when we serve Krishna and all living entities. You see, when you do something wonderful, it's like they say, it's better to give than it is to receive. Well, that's absolutely true. We get a whole lot more enjoyment out of giving than we do receiving. Sometimes when somebody gives you a gift, a nice gift, it's very wonderful, but there's that uncomfortable moment. Like, I deserve this. I didn't get them anything. You know, gee whiz, it's an act of love, but now I have to adjust because I just received it. And I'm very thankful, but at the same time, I really don't feel like I deserve this, and it's just so nice of you. You're such a great friend, I don't think I can ever be as good a friend as you are. You see? Now that's not as graceful as you give it being on the giving end, when you're the giver, and the other person is feeling that uncomfortable, but you shouldn't have. Yes, but I did it because I love you. And I get to enjoy that moment. I did it because I love you, and it's only a small token of my love for you. There's no way I can demonstrate how I feel about you. And so I'm giving you this little $30,000 Rolex watch. And that's only a small token of my love, you see. That's not being facetious now. You see what I mean? But we can't measure the love that we have for people. But so some token we may give. And it gives us great pleasure. And we weren't even trying to give ourselves great pleasure. We're trying to give the other person great pleasure. You see? So that's our very nature as living entities. We are not the enjoyer. We are the enjoyed. It's our constitutional position with the Supreme Lord. We enjoy when we cause enjoyment. When we're being enjoyed, we're in ecstasy. When we're enjoyed by the Supreme, we have supreme ecstasy. Nothing can top that. So therefore, if we perform devotional service, I want to do something. My mission is to wow Krishna. I want to make tears of joy come from that face. Now, how would you feel if you made some preparation? You know, how would you feel if you made some drawing and you said back to Krishna? Krishna says, Sean, what's that you have? Is that something for me? Oh, it's nothing. Come, let me see it. Oh, I don't want to show it to you. Please, give it to me. All right, here. Krishna says, he's breathless. And you can see the tears are coming out of his. He says,
Hopefully he's not an art critic.
Sean, he says, this is just wonderful. I'll keep it near me forever. Now, how would you feel?
Crushed.
You know, Govinda, Krishna, see, that's what we're striving to do. We want this guy God to say, wow, you really love me. So his enjoyment goes way up, which causes our enjoyment to exceed his, which causes his enjoyment to exceed that, and this goes on for eternity. You see, that's our relationship with the Supreme Godhead. And we can't get that when we have liberation into the Brahmjyoti. It may be nirvanic and very full of shanti, but that loving exchange to where you feel this ecstasy growing and growing and growing, this intense love that we can't imagine. You see, I heard someone say that if we could imagine that feeling of love that we have for Krishna, our head would explode. Our heart would burst. We couldn't, if we got just a drop, our heart would just explode. How we feel about Krishna. So, I think he had a question first.
I just
I'm
had a
sorry for
remark.
making you.
No, it's okay. I'm patient. I just had a remark upon what you said earlier about wanting like a shortcut around the mantra. And you can appreciate this, but I've been on like a long path to open each individual chakra, and each time there's like a true opening, there's like a crazy experience or whatever. And I've been stuck in my throat for a while. And so that landed me here. And so I found that the mantra is the shortcut. That like you have, like you said, the rule is you have to verbally express your appreciation for God, because we're supposed to sing for God, dance for God, paint for God, have fun for God, right? So until you verbally express it, it doesn't open. And being the culture we were raised in, it's really difficult to verbally express hardly anything. So I've honestly found just over the past week alone that like the mantra's the shortcut. It's like the most bang for your buck. It's the easiest thing you can chant. And like I was just looking at this book, and one of the paintings says that this guy, he named his kid Narayana or Narayana.
Narayana. Yeah.
And basically, when he was dying and being taken by demons for living such a bad life, he chanted his kid's name out of anxiety, and the god showed up. Like, what? Oh, you wanted to go? Come on. And it says, like, literally, even if you chant his name by accident, you'll go to the Godhead. So, like, they say practice in life, and in death, maybe you'll do it right.
Yeah, that was a Jamil.
Yeah.
Jamil, he named his son Narayan, because at one time that's the name of Krishna. And he was a nice devotee at that time. But later on, he had a big fall down, and he became a really despicable person. Really bad. So at the time of death, here the Yamadutas, the servants of Yamaraj, who tries, he's the judge in the court of the sinless, of the sinful. So the sinful soul goes to Yamaraj to be assigned his next body. It's not pretty. So his servants are not very attractive, they're gruesome. So here they come to get a Jamil's soul. And in his dying breath, he screams for his son, Narayan! And immediately, the Vishnu Dutas appear. And they're the servants of Vishnu, which is Krishna. And they come, and they say, oh, come with us. And the Yamadutas, they have this discussion. There's an argument. Wait a minute, you have no authority here. We have come to get the sinful soul. And they say, yes, but he has uttered the name of God. So we're in charge. And they said, we work for the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and we were sent here to get this wonderful soul. And they went away. They had to go away. You know, the Vishnu Dutas are much more powerful, and they're very beautiful, and much like Vishnu. And so they take the soul. You see. And that's just because he wasn't even thinking of Krishna. He wanted his son.
But his intention wasn't like negative because he was just calling out for his son.
That's the potency of the name. Hallowed be the name.
So the shortcut.
The name of the Lord. That's why, what is it, the unforgivable sin? Is to take the name of thy God, the Lord, thy God in vain.
The worst would be denial of God, denial of the Spirit.
Oh, okay. And then, but there is that, to take the name of the Lord in vain.
Do not take the
Yeah.
name of the Lord in vain.
And Genesis starts out with, in the beginning there was the Word.
Exactly. The name was there first. Yeah, I forget all these things. So these classes are good for me too. There was the Word, and He was the Word. That's the Word. So.
Is it okay if I mention a quick joke you reminded me of?
Sure.
Okay, a pope went to heaven. He's at the pearly gates with St. Peter, and St. Peter says, okay, you're a pope, you've been a good pope, so you made it to heaven. Pope says, what accommodations will I have here? St. Peter says, okay, I'll show you. And the Pope ends up living in a little tiny duplex. And there's a big mansion across the street. St. Peter's walking by one day, and Pope says, St. Peter, I'm the Pope. How did I get this dinky little thing? Who's living in that big mansion across the street? The Pope says, oh, that mansion in heaven is occupied by a lawyer. We got lots of popes up here, but very few lawyers.
Well, that reminds me that the Pope was visiting Vrindavan, the birthplace of Krishna, and he had this special cell phone where he could dial God. And so he was at the temple, and this one devotee said, well, do you mind if I borrow that phone to call God? And the Pope says, well, but make it a quick call, because it's pretty expensive. And the devotee says, oh, don't worry, it's a local call from here. Yes, Sean.
As we know, that Om symbol is like the impersonal Brahma, Krishna's impersonal Brahma teacher, and a lot of these beautiful yoga studios, they're very content on chanting Om and Om. And so, I mean, the word suicidal came to mind. Is it almost, should we say, I mean, most people think that the Om, the Buddha, the oneness, the monism must be the highest achievement. There's not many people know about Krishna. It's the most confidential because it takes love to understand it, not the mind. So is it kind of, if we're not sharing these mantras appropriately in a yoga studio, is it akin to like spiritual suicide?
No.
Like people
No.
chant the impersonal Brahma energy? Do they
It's
say
not
that?
really the impersonal Brahman energy.
Okay.
The syllable Om is the beginning. We use it, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, Om Gyantimarandasya Gnanjanam Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Jena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. So it's the beginning, it's chanted at the beginning throughout the Gayatri mantras. Om is a part of most of them. So Om, it's kind of like when we vibrate that syllable Om, we're calling for, it's like we're calling for Krishna's words. It's just like if I say, Sean,
Yes, Maharaj.
Sean,
Yes, Gurudev.
Sean,
Yes, Jivananda.
you see what I mean? But if I say, Sean, and you, yes, you have my attention. So I've summoned the attention. In other words, it means there's more to come. Om, yes, you have my attention. You vibrated that sacred Om. Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. My dear Lord, please accept my humble obeisances, O you, who are the most powerful and most beautiful, and most kind and most loving. O Son of Vasudeva, I bow down before you. Which is better than saying, hey God. Om is the beginning. You see, but if that's all you get, at least you get to that point. See, now you've learned, and once you get to that point, Krishna will see that you get more. You see, he's not trying to trip you up. Somebody gave you a part of the puzzle, a very big part of the puzzle. Wow, you've just accepted that. So now you're closer to me. I'll see that you get more, because I'm your friend. And you can still reject it. Maybe you say, I don't want more. Om is enough for me now. That's fine. I'm Krishna, I'm eternal, and so are you. We're not going anywhere. You'll be back here someday. You'll be back home. And I'll send you every opportunity to come here now. But that's your choice. That's your choice. But I know that when you choose, you'll come home. You'll come back to me, to our loving relationship. I know. I just don't know when. Now, some people will say, wait a minute, we're talking about God. God knows everything. What about free will? He gave you free will. Now, I guess it's conceivable that, yeah, he could know how you're going to choose for eternity. He's going to say yes, he's going to say no. But why would he want to? This is a very interesting story to him. You are incredibly interesting. You see, you're making choices as you navigate this world. I mean, he's glued to the television here, wondering what's the next episode. I'm going to send this challenge. I wonder what he will do. I'm going to send this hint. I wonder what she'll do. This is exciting to Krishna. As Paramatma, he's in the heart region next to the Atma, the living us, the living entity. We're the Atma, he's Paramatma, supreme soul, super soul. So he's right with us, and he's glued to our every thought. Not because he's there to pass judgment or, to punish. This guy is madly in love with you. He cannot and will not go one moment without you. He is fascinated by you, and he always has been for eternity. And it will never go away. So he's glued to this. He's just really so interested. If you love somebody, you're really interested in them. He is so interested in this. You've taken this trip away from him to come through the material world, to find something better than him, or to try to become him. And he knows this is going to be an epic journey. And he wants to see every bit of it. He wants to experience all of it with you. And he's going to do just that. And when you choose that you're thinking, I want more, Radharani, he wants more. This is huge. Give him more. You're my servant. Give him more. Yes. Have you tried chanting Hare Krishna? I don't want that. Oh, okay. All right, you, give him more. Well, have you considered being a Buddhist? Well, that sounds interesting. Let's try that. Krishna sends you. And he keeps sending, and he keeps sending. Wherever you feel a bit of a vacuum, like I need more God, I need more knowledge, you'll have it delivered. Just like Krishna's like.
Yeah, that's true.
And here it comes. So, as you want it, he sends it. According to the desire that you want. Even if you're desiring to get away from him and be an atheist. He has servants that will send you that. Give you every facility.
Maharaj, in this context, what about qualification of the individual soul?
All souls are qualified. We're all qualified. The soul is 100% pure.
No, I mean in the material world.
Oh. The only contamination is our consciousness. But you, the soul, you're not contaminated. You're an eternal living entity. You're an eternal servant of the Supreme Lord. You see. It's just like if you're a PhD, if you're a practicing attorney, and somehow or other you, God forbid, get hit on the head, you're in a coma. You're still an attorney. Now your consciousness is such that you can't perform your activity properly, right? But when you come out of that coma, you always have been and you continue to be an attorney or a doctor, or you see what I mean? So the soul doesn't become contaminated. Our consciousness becomes contaminated. But the soul remains pure. See? It's the consciousnness. It's not that we're trying to purify our soul. We're trying to purify our consciousness. We're trying to open up our eyes to see properly.
I was thinking it's hard to imagine that, Krishna loves us so much, but we also have that intense love for Krishna, so that we actually made the leap to distance ourselves from it, for a time.
Yeah, and that could be for a multitude of reasons. First of all, for love to have any meaning, you have to have free will. You see, one lover, for you to be someone's lover, that means you have chosen them. And if to give choosing any meaning, you also have to have the right to refuse. Okay, so I have the right to refuse, but yet I choose you out of love. Without that being able to refuse, love doesn't have any meaning. If I only have the right to accept, then it's forced. I'm a prisoner. Well, Krishna, he's not cheap with his love. He wants sweet, pure love. He wants you to choose him, and he gives you the right to refuse it. You see? So, we're also wired in such a way that we can make a mistake. We can utilize poor decision making. It doesn't make any sense to leave Krishna. It doesn't make any sense at all. But we become a little, let's say we want to, maybe a little envious. You're God, you're so wonderful and so beautiful. You get all the attention. I'd like to have all the attention. I kind of think I could do this Krishna thing just as well as you could. I could take flute lessons. I could wear a garland just like that guy. I mean, the way he swings his garland when he walks. Have you ever noticed that? I could do that. Give me a flute, a great garland, and a whole bunch of servants. I'll show you a Krishna.
Oh, God.
I mean, wherever our thought is like that. So we come here to be the center of attention. You see, we want that. We want that control. We want to be served. Me, servant? I want to be served. I want to have servants. You see. So, but not only that, so we have to be able to make that decision. As someone spiritually realizes, well, that's a dumb thing to do. So God made you imperfect. Well, if you were unable to make that decision, then you're forced to make the right decision always, which is another force. Krishna doesn't want to force you to do anything. You have free will to the nth degree. If you want to, you can make a mistake. It's not bad, because I'm going to be there with you to catch you when you fall down. I'm always going to be with you. So off you go and have a wonderful journey. So it's a horrible thing for the living entity to leave the shelter of the Supreme Lord and strike out on his own through this material world, trying to be all he can be in the material world. But on the other hand, it's a very wonderful thing, because we get the power. Just think, if we had never left Krishna, then we would never taste the delight and the ecstasy of finding Krishna. How can you find something you've always had? You see? But since we've come, the good news, the bad news is we're here. The good news is we get to experience the ecstasy of regaining Krishna. You see? We get to see his face for what may appear to be the first time. And then we'll remember. But if we were always with him, we would not have that. It's just like Krishna and Radharani. They were always together. But because he's God, he also has this relationship of when he found her, when she came to him. But they've always been together for eternity. But there was a time when he came to her, or when she came to him. You see what I mean? At the same time. Because he wants that taste. We're eternal. We've always been together. But I want to see you for the first time. And I'm God, and I can do that. So we get that privilege of seeing Krishna for the first time, although for eternity we were looking at his face. So we can spin a bad deal and turn it into a really good deal. We're making the best out of a bad bargain when we find Krishna.
It kind of begs the question, so when we go back, if we are lucky enough to go back, are we going to be a dumb, stupid idiot again and make the same mistake twice? And
No.
no.
Krishna makes you the guarantee that when you come back, you'll never. And it's a guarantee, but it's not like he's going to force you. But now that you've had this experience, you've fulfilled this question that you had. See, could I be you? You know, is there anything as good or better than you? And if there is something that is as good or better than you, could that be me? So it's a question that we have. It's a valid question. And we've got the answer when we go back.
Am I late?
A little bit.
You missed some good jokes.
Yeah. Darn it. Now we don't get to talk about it.
Do we meet Krishna with crutches and a eye patch and bruises? Like, hey.
Yeah. And he looks at you and says, tough journey, huh? Looks like the cat drug.
I actually, I won't go into all the details, but
Please don't.
I studied, I had to study time travel after that experience, this other experience. About 20 years ago, they actually took me back 2,000 years, and I saw Christ face to face, eyeball to eyeball, and he carried the cross on his left shoulder. At first, I saw a commotion going on, and then I went up to see what it was all about, and I saw this beam being dragged across the ground very slowly. What in the world is this, And I ran up, and as I ran up, I could see the figure of a person under it, and I ran around, and then I saw it was Christ. But there's two things that shocked me the most. The one thing that shocked me more than that, first, was that I recognized him immediately. And the second thing that shocked me was, I saw the crown of thorns right here, and it etched his forehead and made it bleed, and the blood had already dried up on his face by the time he was carrying the cross. And that shocked me also because, and I looked in his eyes, and I could tell he had absolutely no anger to this horrible torture that was being done to him. And he already knew how severe it is when you drive a spike.
Is this the without the details version?
Anyways, but those are the...
Because we're out of time.
Okay, but you mentioned recognizing Krishna. I was so amazed that I recognized Christ like that. And is it the same, probably the same with Krishna, that once we see him, we'll be amazed that we knew him all along.
Well, yeah, we're just forgetful. Right now we're in a forgetful stage. Basically because we're focusing on ourselves.
Yeah.
We're focusing too much on ourselves.
Some
Some people say, I've had some people say, what we need to do is learn how to love ourselves.
That's true.
But I think we love ourselves a little too much. I need to turn my love to God and all the other living entities.
In order to be able to love ourselves more.
I don't care about loving me.
Yeah.
I'm loved by the Supreme Lover. I'm overloved as it is. Can you realize how much this guy can love you? And then we're loved by all the devotees, all the other living entities. I don't have any need to love me. I don't see what other people would find about me that's lovable anyway. And I don't, you see what I mean? But I see what's lovable about them, and that's what I'm interested in. See what I mean? I think it's a little, what's the word, narcissistic?
Mm-hmm.
For me to want to love me. In other words, that kind of gets me back to my same problem that caused me to leave Krishna. I want to be the center. I want to be my center, and I want to be the center for everybody else.